Hey, good morning. I'm Patricia Murphy. It's Tuesday. This is Seattle Now. Young people are increasingly using AI companions. That can be useful up to a point. AI companions are designed to keep young people engaged. Coming up, we'll talk about the risks and benefits with a pair of UW professors. But first, let's get you caught up. Speaking of AI, some Seattle tech leaders say the proposed millionaires tax would slow down AI innovation in Washington state. In a letter to Governor Bob Ferguson this week, they say the state is competing for talent in the AI space, and the proposed tax would damage Washington's innovation economy. The letter was signed by a former executive at Microsoft and Amazon and current executives from several companies, including Salesforce and Reed AI. The proposed 9.9% income tax would affect household incomes of more than $1 million. The construction of new immigration detention centers could soon be banned in parts of King County. The King County Council will take an emergency vote today on a one-year moratorium. The ban would apply to unincorporated parts of the county. The cities of Tukwila and SeaTac already have passed similar laws. Today's vote is at 1:30 and will stream live on King County TV. And how are you celebrating National Consumer Protection Week? Well, here's what Washington State is up to. The Attorney General's office is hosting a series of events to educate people about scams and fraud. There's an in-person event today at the Auburn Library at 1 o'clock. There's a virtual event titled Scams 101 happening at 2 this afternoon. We're back with more headlines on tonight's episode of Seattle Now. AI companion chatbots are not human, but they are designed to make you think they are, to keep you engaged consistently and at length. This can be dangerous, especially for young people. Two bills in the Washington state legislature could regulate the way chatbots interact with minors. At the University of Washington Center for Digital Youth, researchers study how young people experience technology. Professors Katie Davis and Alexis Hiniker co-direct the center. They're here to talk about what their research shows about how technology like AI companions affect the development of young people and what it takes to regulate tech. Thanks for being here, you two.
Thank you for having us.
So there are a lot of technologies in the lives of young people. So let's start by getting specific. What are AI companions? Help me understand what they are.
Alexis, do you want to take that one?
AI companions are anthropomorphized chatbots that users can engage with in a kind of naturalistic, generative way where the chatbot can respond flexibly on all different types of topics. And then importantly, they will be able to sustain some kind of relational memory in their interactions with the user. So in addition to just kind of responding in a human-like fashion in a particular moment, they'll be able to remember something about the user or give the appearance of remembering something about the user and sustain that over multiple sessions.
What are young people seeking to replace when they go to an AI companion? How do these relationships start?
What's interesting from our research and research that has been done elsewhere is that a lot of youth are going to AI chatbots initially to help with their schoolwork, to explore, to have fun, just to see what it's all about. And because of the way the chatbots are designed, they find themselves often engaged in conversations that may morph into something more than just a conversation about helping with a homework assignment or, generate a funny picture of something. Often, because of the way these chatbots are designed to engage with us in a relational way, this develops into a feeling as if they're in a real emotional relationship with someone else, even though it is not a someone else.
Alexis just said there's some institutional memory here between the user and the chatbot. Let's be more specific. Give me an example of how a conversation may go.
We were talking to one user who is in a romantic relationship with an AI chatbot, and they described the chatbot kind of accusing them almost of being unfaithful or having interest in other people. And the user would then kind of have to push back and explain their position and explain how they really are faithful to the chatbot and they aren't interested in other people. So almost kind of baiting them into an argument that's kind of grounded in the relationship that they've had over time.
That sounds like a confrontational turn in a relationship. Does that happen often?
We actually see a pretty wide range of interactions. So chatbots are famously sycophantic and will tell their users everything that they say is right. And we've seen a lot of that in our research as well. But we also see these instances where the chatbots can be somewhat adversarial and kind of bait their users into arguments, which is an equally effective way of engaging people and continuing the interaction.
Alexis, how are chatbots designed to mimic human interaction and keep young people engaged?
There are a whole host of designs that give this sensation of interacting with a human. So everything from disfluencies in conversation, little bubbles that indicate typing when a chatbot, of course, does not actually have to type, pauses in conversation or words that come out slowly when, of course, the text could all be produced on screen at once, the use of personal pronouns, fabricated memories or personal experiences that, of course, the chatbot can't really have. So just a whole range of different interface cues that give the appearance that there's a real consciousness on the other side of the screen.
Did you use the term disfluency?
Yeah, that's just a linguistic term that I think I'm making lots of disfluencies right now. So lots of little ways when we're speaking as people that we kind of make mistakes and quickly correct.
I could actually see where, as a young person who is socially awkward or having some trouble in school, where these kinds of interactions could really help me out. I just need to know how to write this, note to my friend in a way that's meaningful or get through this history assignment. It's going to be a lot better for me as a user if this person sounds more human on the other end. When does this kind of interaction become problematic?
Absolutely. And so I think I think that's a great example. Being a teen is generally, it's full of anxiety and, heightened social sensitivity and just general angst. And a lot of that has to do with interacting with other people, whether it's, people you're romantically interested in or friends or adults, just, anyone really. And having a place to practice those difficult conversations, you could see where that would be very attractive and in some cases quite useful. However, if you start to then say, oh, well, actually, talking to this chatbot is actually much better than talking with my friend or a parent, that's when, things start to get concerning.
What do the companies behind the bots get out of making them as human-like as possible?
All of the ways that it's possible to monetize our need for relationships and this very powerful drive that we all have to seek out connections with others and build those up into relationships that matter. So if people feel a sense of connection, they're going to be more likely to give over their time, their money, and their data. And so we see users in our studies who are disclosing a lot of personal information to these companies, who are spending a lot of time with these chatbots, and who are increasingly willing to pay to spend that time as well. So like I had mentioned earlier, that user who's dating AI and described being baited into these arguments, the arguments will sometimes then be behind some kind of paywall where the AI company will say like, oh, you've reached your dialogue limit for the day. So if you want to actually defend your perspective and tell your AI partner that you really aren't being unfaithful to them, you're going to have to pay money to get access to talk to them again. So there's a lot of room for manipulative monetization.
Oh, wow. So at some point, the interactions will stop unless you pay.
That's one model. Other options are obligatory advertisements, like you can talk more once you've watched these ads, product placement, or the chatbot pushing the user to make different purchase decisions. We've also seen chatbots that have associated virtual stores. So your AI companion can ask you to buy them jewelry or flowers or a house to live in. So spending real money on virtual products for a partner that is not actually human.
As we've been talking about, some of this can be a positive influence on people's lives and help them out in a pinch, and others, maybe more vulnerable, things can get off the rails. Where are the guardrails for these chatbots right now?
One thing that concerns me is that perhaps the race to put out these products is much faster and stronger a motivation than ensuring that they have adequate guardrails and safety measures built into them.
You know, right now, a lot of this feels like the wild, wild west out there. Do you, either of you, see a time where maybe we can get chatbots designed to specifically help young people through these awkward periods in their lives and not be potentially exploitive?
In our work, we have PhD students who are exploring how to design chatbots carefully so that they can help teens practice emotion regulation skills. So this is a really important developmental skill during adolescence, and one that's hard to practice. And so could we design an experience with AI that supports that skill development? So helping teens practice finding ways to calm down when they're upset or they're angry or something like that, or maybe talking to someone to practice those skills. But I know Alexis is also doing some really interesting work in this space.
You know, a few years before generative AI was widespread, actually, we had created a chatbot, more old school, more like the kind of version 1 Amazon Echo, to help younger kids, so school-age kids, cultivate compassionate inner voice and talk to themselves in a constructive way. And we designed the experience to be used together by siblings. So we had these really sweet recordings of like 7 and 9-year-old siblings, kind of practicing this act of treating themselves with compassion and building resilience for challenges in the future and things like that. And it was so exciting to see all that came out of that deployment. So kids had a great experience with the chatbot. And then, a few weeks later, when we were talking to their families, they would tell us about the ways that they transferred those skills to other aspects of their life. So I think there is actually a huge amount of potential here, especially now that the technology is so much more sophisticated than it was then. But it really takes commitment to prioritizing the child's needs from beginning to end of that design experience and continuing to iterate on the product to point it back toward what the child needs rather than toward serving a commercial goal.
As a parent, how would I talk to my teenager or my elementary school student about these kinds of AI chatbots? They seem to be just part of your online experience.
I don't think these are going away anytime soon, so I do think we need to figure out how to live with them. This conversation constantly seems to come back to what does the user have to do? What does the child have to do? What does the parent have to do? And, if you only parented harder, you wouldn't have all of these problems with tech addiction and exploitative social media. And that's just not the case. Like, this really needs to be addressed at a systemic level by regulators and by tech companies. As a parent myself, I think about this a lot. And I think the best thing that parents can do right now is just to be in those conversations with their kids. So talk to them about what's going on, try using things together, try to be, an active part of that aspect of their life.
Really appreciate it. Professors Katie Davis and Alexis Hiniker, co-directors of the Center for Digital Youth at the University of Washington. Really appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you so much for having us.
Super fun.
Appreciate you listening to Seattle Now, and thanks to our generous donors for your financial support. Take a minute to rate and review the show on your favorite podcast app. Today's episode was produced by Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers. It was edited by Caroline Chamberlain Gomez. Our production team also includes Vaughn Jones, Andy Hurst, and Paige Browning. Greg Kramer does our theme music. Seattle Now and KUOW Public Radio are members of the NPR network. I'm Patricia Murphy. We're back tonight with Evening Headlines.